retiring officially as a Titan. We will go now to his news conference live as number 99 becomes immortalized today, retiring as a Tennessee Titan.
How a guy really looks. And sure enough, I go down to the offense and the O-line, and there goes Tyron. He looks like some kind of Greek god running down through there. And I go watch Jurrell, and it's kind of that little short, squatty guy that makes all the plays. And it was cool to see him to come here. He certainly got off to a fast start here with the Titans. I will never forget it was the second or third day on the job here for me, and I was getting gas at the gas station right around the corner from St. Thomas. And there was I think it was an Escalade. He had an Escalade, and he was pumping gas. And I was like, that's Casey pumping gas. And I didn't say anything. I didn't go over to him. I kind of filled up my truck. We're going to win a lot of football games together, man. I appreciate what you stand for. And as I got to work with him, his passion for the game, his dedication to his teammates, his leadership skill, and certainly his dominance on the field, you could see it week in and week out. Morgan and KB are here, and we talk about players that you've got to stop week in and week out for the opposing team, and you can rest assured that 99 was one of those guys for the opposing team. His picture was up there as a guy we've got to stop. For as much as he did on the field, for the football team, he did even more in the community. Just an outstanding role model, a giver of his time, a giver of his money, a giver of his efforts to the people of Nashville. And we are blessed to have him here and blessed to immortalize, I guess you could say, Mike Keith, as a Titan for life. So congratulations, Jurrell, on an outstanding career.
John said it in talking about what Jurrell did off the field. If he was a five-time Pro Bowler on the field, he was a Pro Bowler every year in terms of how he led the community and set the tempo on the field, but set the tempo in our locker room for guys to see what it was like to be involved in the community and to make a difference. Our two-time Walter Payton Man of the Year, and a guy that stepped in different places when he was needed so many different times. And by the end of his career, he was totally setting the tone for what we did off the field. I'd like to ask Betty Kirkland if she would come forward now to say a few words. Betty is the CEO of Project Return, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about Jurrell's impact for their particular endeavor. Please welcome Betty Kirkland.
I'm going to talk about a different side of Jurrell, although I really love that stat about only 5 games in 9 years. That's incredible. A substantial portion of our community is or has been under correctional control, and on the way to and from that, they've experienced the violence of poverty and the pain of victimhood. Jurrell Casey understands that. At Project Return, we work every day to help people start over after prison. Connecting Jurrell to those individuals and bringing his voice to that part of our community has been such a gift. His authentic interactions with people who have been disregarded and even discarded are a gift to them as well as to the community at large. His spirit of hope and positivity is a substantive boost to their future and to the well-being of our city. We love having the support of Jurrell and Ryan Casey, the Casey Fund, which has been meaningful for Project Return on 3 levels. First, their generous gifts have gone straight to the signature services that we provide to the people who are doing everything they can to live good lives and leave prison behind. It is life-changing, and we thank you, Jurrell, and thank you, Ryan. Second, their passionate belief in our cause and their clear voice of support has strengthened our impact in the community. Not everyone comes our way and sits with our people. Third, at a personal level, we are grateful for their friendship. As tough and hard driving as he is on the field, his compassion and empathy is just as strong, just as notable, I can tell you that. With humility, he walks and carries himself with the knowledge that there but for the grace of God go me or him or you. The other thing to know about Jurrell Casey is that this is a twofer. It is Jurrell and Ryan together all the way. It's a team, equal partners with a shared devotion. And yes, they are compassionate, but beyond that, what also drives them is the fierce desire for true justice for people. Thank you, Jurrell and Ryan, for bringing that to ground at Project Return. Ryan and Jurrell, we are grateful, we are proud, we are happy to see Nolan and Peyton, and we are excited for all of you. And we're glad to be part of your city and your team. Thank you.
Before I bring Jurrell up to make some comments, I want to throw out an angle that you might not know, that those who played with him and those who had the great opportunity to work with him on a daily basis certainly understand. The term Jurrell, would you, was used a lot over 9 years, and that is, Jurrell, would you sign a football for an auction or for a young person who's sick? Jurrell, would you say hello to a group of sponsors or to a high school football team who's come by practice? Jurrell, would you drop a line for the Jumbotron? Jurrell, would you have time for a quick interview? The fact that we would say almost on a daily basis, Jurrell, would you? And every single time he said yes. Every single time as a work colleague, he was there for us. Certainly he was there on Sundays. Certainly we saw him in the community. But I'm telling you, behind the scenes, Jurrell Casey was a Titans great. In every way, he was a Titans great. So please join me in welcoming somebody so special to all of us on what is a great day for the Tennessee Titans, my friend, Jurrell Casey.
Appreciate it. Appreciate y'all being here today. Definitely a pleasure and an honor to be in front of this podium one more time in front of the Titan Nation. Just want to say thank you to the organization first and foremost. Just also want to say thank you to the Lord. Without His blessing, without His hard work of shaping me, creating me, I wouldn't be here. And the things that He installed in me, get that from my mother. She taught me to go out there and give everything I can. Her favorite saying and my uncle's favorite saying was always go out there and put they in the dirt. If you don't know what that blank is, it's a little provocative, but that was their thing. And I always drove that with me as I was going through my career. That was always something I always lived on, was go out there and bust your tail, go get after it. And I try to make sure I display that as much as I can. And to this last day, when I made this last decision in my career, it was a hard decision to come and want to retire, but after sitting down talking with my family and going through the last 3 years of injuries and dealing with different things mentally and things like that, it was the best decision for me and my family to pull away from the game and take our focus somewhere else. Me and my wife always talked about not letting the game become you making the game become your world. And I found myself kind of getting wrapped up in the game a little too much, not really focused on what's outside to come. And now going forward, I think, that's the best move for me and my family, trying to focus on life outside of football. I've done everything I possibly could inside this game. Look to be a Hall of Famer, look to go bust my tail every week, look to go get a Super Bowl ring. It didn't happen. If Lord's willing to be a Hall of Famer, that'd definitely be a blessing to come. But, for me, the game of football, pursuing to go get a Super Bowl has come to an end. And, the body itself told me what it's going to be, and I couldn't go out there and keep damaging myself and not be there for my family for the long haul. So I made the decision to go ahead and call it a quits. I called John up a couple weeks ago. I want to say about 3 weeks ago, when I sat down and I talked to him, hashed out the differences that we had, whatever. It wasn't really much differences, more so my feelings and how I felt about the whole situation. But they kept open arms. They said, Case, don't worry about none of that. You're a Titan for life, for your family, and, we love you over here. And I definitely thank y'all for that. It's definitely a blessing. Because me and my wife, we sat and talked about that a lot. Like, damn, what the hell did I do? What the heck going on? But, it's a blessing. And the Lord, he works things in magical ways. And when I called John, and he opened up with straight joy. It wasn't like, what you doing calling me? It was straight joy. And, to have your GM answer the phone and be hyped for you to come back is definitely exciting. But I think the thing that brought me most joy in this game was my boys that's here right now. The brotherhood of the game. You know, you don't find that a lot outside this world. You don't find that outside the building a lot. And that's one thing I talk about. I was talking to Jim the other day, and I was telling him the biggest thing about Tennessee Titans was talk to other players everywhere else, and you don't hear them talk about a family. You don't hear them talking about a brotherhood. And from day one, KB can be attested to this, when he came in, well, day one, Derek, when I first got in, he called me as soon as I got drafted. Hey, Case, when you get in, here go my number. Hit me up, man. I take great care of you. And Derek, I like to say, man, that right there had pushed me to go do the same. And that's why I stepped in the building the way I did, was because of you. You everything I did, taking care of my body, like he talked about, bad shape. The reason I switched over to being vegan, the reason I did everything I did in offseason was you, my dog. You was that guy who's a great example, role model, and I wanted to be the same for KB and the rest of the guys that came in. And by Derek putting those stepping stones out there, allowed me to go do that. And KB, I just want to say, man, you've been a great leader so far. Keep leading these boys. Let's make sure we get a Super Bowl here now. And I just want to say thank y'all again, media, for always being showing love, always being here for me, always, writing something nice, never having really nothing negative to say about me. And so thank you, Lord, that you blessed me not to have that come up. But appreciate y'all. And I just want to say thank y'all again for coming out today, showing me the love, and, welcoming me back home to being a Titan. Appreciate it. Y'all know how I get with those sweats in front of this camera.
Jurrell, you always talked about wanting to spend your whole career with one team. How do you view the last year then? Do you sort of write the year in Denver off, or would...
Okay, right off is there, and something I talked about a lot with my wife and with my agent is I didn't want to go up to Denver. I can honestly admit that I did not want to go up there. When John called me and told me they was going to trade me, I honestly begged him. I was like, don't do it. I don't want to go nowhere else. I want to be a Titan forever. That's just what I wanted to do. And when, you don't control that situation or whatnot. But at the end of the day, man, I did what I said I wanted to do, and I wanted to play for the Titans. And that was a goal of mine. And 3 games there. Do I scratch it? Not really. But to me, like you said, I didn't really get to go out there and showcase my talents the way I wanted to, show them what I can do. But it's definitely a blessing to be back here.
You had some bad feelings about the trade. Obviously, you talked about patching it up with John. What was that year like, kind of coming to terms with all of that and ending up full circle back here after you said the things that you did?
The crazy thing about it is after I made the statement and whatnot, it literally was like 2 or 3 days. Me and my wife, we sat there, and I was like, yeah, I'm upset, I'm mad or whatever, but I always talked to her before the thing even went down. I know it's a business. Crazy part, as soon as the season was over, I called it out. I told her, I said, bro, I'm out of here this year. I already know how it goes. This is part of the business. It's a, new guy coming in town who's dominant. Injuries creep into the game. I knew how that all goes, and kind of called it out. And, it's a blessing that after talking to John, we talked about it. He made clear to me, at the end of the day, you could be on the streets these days. You could be sitting around waiting for a job. But he gave me the opportunity to go get traded somewhere else to continue to play and showcase my talents, and I only can be thankful and grateful for that.
Jurrell, you're from Long Beach, Southern California, went to USC. Just prior to coming to Tennessee, what were your thoughts about just coming to Nashville, and then once you got here, how did your view of Nashville, Tennessee kind of evolved as you made this your home?
Shoot, first off, I didn't even know nothing about Nashville or Tennessee when I first got drafted. I'm like, shoot, what part of this country I'm even going? So I had to literally go Google it up and search. And when I looked at it, I was like, okay, we're gonna rock with some country music. We're gonna get it going. But as soon as I got up here, man, it was just like love. Everybody that you run across is super nice. Everybody that you run across are just cool peoples. And so that kind of was a little different for me being back home in L.A. Everybody in L.A. usually stuck up. You ain't nobody care who you are. So to get out here and just, have a full community, based around you, everybody loving on you and stuff like that, definitely was a blast. And, to come out, Tennessee at that time wasn't the hottest in the NFL or whatnot, but to be able to build a culture with the brothers here and build a winning tradition around here is what it was all about, That's the reason I stuck around. As long as I stuck around, we're going through the whole free agency periods and having options to go. But my thing was, there's no reason to run from this great community when you're trying to build something great. And that was my whole mindset being here.
Jurrell, you have spent time here when it was low and you were a big part of when things got high. What were some of the highlight moments, that year when you guys were able to go to that AFC Championship?
From that year, it was more so to just the camaraderie we started to build. I think, a lot of guys start hanging out together a lot more. Like before, it used to be just DBs by themselves hanging out, the linebackers and D-lines probably hanging in them. But that year, man, everybody started to click. Everybody started to get together. And like I talk about that familyhood, that brotherhood, we started to do like trips on a yearly basis at the end of the season. And we have dudes from all different groups coming and join us on these trips. And when you can build those type of camaraderie and you're doing certain things inside the office, it shows up outside the building and it shows up on the football field. And I think that's something that was pushed around here a lot, is the work that a lot of guys doing now in the community, a lot of the work that we're doing on the field, going out there extra. That was all set in stone early years, and these guys is running with it.
Did you start the off season thinking you were going to play and sort of change your mind along the way, or were you trying to convince yourself to still play through much of the offseason?
I was more so convincing myself trying to still go. Once the season had ended up there in Denver, honestly, I was checked out. Like I said, mentally, just not really there. Get up, go work out. Some days don't go work out. Once I started doing that, I knew that my love for the game was kind of starting to dwindle. It was never a day. My wife used to tell me, "Brian, stay in bed, take a nap. Like, just relax a little bit." I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. When I'm sitting there in the bed at 7 o'clock, I knew something was going wrong. And so I used to get up, and I tried to tell the wife like a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, all right, let's get back at it. Let's go. The body's just not driving the same. I go out there trying to do certain things, trying to move around, trying to run, trying to just go have free time. The body's not clicking the same, and it's not moving the same way. And there's no way I'll go out there and put bad film on tape just to go collect a couple dollars. It's just not my style. My thing, if I can't give you everything I can give, y'all watch my game. I'm out there nonstop from play one to play 100, 300, whatever it is. Whatever we're out there for, I'm trying to get it. And so if I can't do that, then I don't need to be out there.
Whether it be the finger wag after a sack or a little celebration, I mean, you brought the energy. What's your message to the fans that I know just absolutely loved you and still do?
Big stance to the fans is just thank you for being there, appreciating my game. A lot of people out there are haters. They don't understand how I play. They don't understand the things that I do on that field. But those guys who actually tune in week to week and really see the stuff that I do and I put out on that film, I just want to say thank y'all for really, cherishing it, giving me the Pro Bowls that I got, because without them, and without the media and all the people voting for me, I wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't be Jurrell Casey, 5-time Pro Bowler, 10 years in this league. So, say thank you to all y'all for just really rooting and been in the stands every week. And, when those sacks do come out, they screaming, going nuts. And, me putting people in body bags, that's just always a joy. So, definitely.
All the work that you did, that you and your family did in the community, was there a specific instance or circumstance that, like, you experienced that you guys realized, okay, we have to give back. This is something that we need to do. This is important to us.
Well, the biggest thing that, not want to say necessarily something happened and where we had to do this. It was always just a passion of both of ours. One, when my brother been incarcerated, it was always something that, I wanted to make a difference of trying to keep people from going back and getting into the system and things like that. And then for my wife, the career that she worked and the career that she has, been an attorney, it was just always something in our mind that we wanted to help as much as possible. And like I said, it was always installed in me from day one. I used to tell all my friends from back home, if I made it to the league, that was going to just be the scratch of the surface. My thing is to see how much I can affect the people around me. And as long as I can make change in other people's lives, whatever I do on the football field is icing on the cake. And so, my first couple of years, I used to always just go out there in the community and tag along with people that's doing the community work. And I'm like, dang, this is fun. Like, why not go and do it yourself? You know what I'm saying? Like, why not go and get involved fully yourself? And my wife, she got here and she was like, stop wishing, let's get it done. And that's how we got out there and started getting rocking.
Your whole life, and what's the overriding emotion on a day like this? You're probably happy, some sadness, maybe proudness of what you accomplished.
I'm proud. Nowhere near sad. There's not one bit of sadness in me at all. I made the decision on my own. That was the blessing of it all. I could have been hurt and no team ever wanted me. But I was able to sit around and, be able to take in a couple of offers and see what people was offering. And I was able to sit there with my wife and say, hey, we're not doing it. We're going to go and rock out and go do something else. And to be able to make that decision on my own accord was definitely a blessing and definitely a feeling that I always wanted to have. Make sure, I was walking away from this game on my own accord.
Jurrell, one of the favorite stories you told us was when you got your first big contract, you bought your mama a house. You said, I don't need anything else. Now it's your time. You have a beautiful family. What's next for you, and is the Casey Fund the vehicle for all of that?
Casey Fund is driving the vehicle all the way. You know, my wife, she got her things going on. My first thing before I do anything, I told my wife, I make a promise to myself, I won't go and try to dive into any business endeavors until I finish up school. So that's my number one goal. I left as a junior, leaving college, and in order for me to go bless myself, I got to finish up college. So I'm basically putting myself on a little punishment until I finish up school. No telling how long that will take. I'm not a school person, but, I got a strong backbone who's going to sit there and ride with me. So she's going to make sure it get done. She want to take pictures with me in our cap and gowns. So I know she's going to make it happen. But, the biggest thing is I'm blessed. I'm fortunate enough to play this game, and this organization have taken great care of me and my family, that we don't have to rush to go figure out something else right now, but focus on, like I was saying, more so the mental space and really gather myself for the next year or two. And then, from there, I'm only 31, so I got a lot of life ahead of me. And from the things that we have in place and the goals that we have in mind, y'all not done hearing from us, not yet.
You referred to Jeffrey Simmons. Did you see him much last year while you were on the injured list, and what do you expect for him with this organization?
No, I didn't get to see him. I didn't run into him in person or anything like that. I talked to him a couple times, but he's going to be a hell of a player. He's one guy who, when I first came in, he got underneath the wing. He came out working. He came out ready to push. And to have a guy like that, like I said, once they drafted him, I seen how he was working. Like I said, it's part of the business. You know what's to expect to come. So it was never ever a hard feeling with Jeffrey. Like I said, I love the guy dearly. It's just time to go shine, man. It's just time to get the job done. I left some big shoes out there for him to fill. So hope you go out there and handle it. Definitely from his first 2 years now, he's definitely been doing it. So definitely excited to see where he comes. Now I'm a football fan, so I get to go and actually watch the games. So I get to really pay attention and dive in. And hopefully, in the next year or so that he feel like I can help him out a little bit and we get out there and work together. And my body ain't breaking down no more. I can go out there and really teach him something.
You played so many games, had so many moments. I mean, what are some moments or memories that maybe stood out to you as the best?
My best is always going to be my first sack. My first career sack against Big Ben. I will never forget that sack. I feel like I hit that dude so hard, I feel like I almost broke my chest. But that's definitely one big moment. I probably could never forget the Jets game when we got the big old rumble, because I would never thought out of my life I would get in a rumble in the NFL. I thought I'd keep myself calm and collected, but that was a pretty big moment. But the biggest moment is just getting to the AFC Championship. Fighting this many years and trying to basically win a Super Bowl. I think that was one of my biggest moments. Even though we lost, to be able to be in that big of a stage at this level, feeling what that environment is about, and like I said all the time, playing with the brothers next to you, knowing that they out there fighting and digging and clawing, and to come out that game the way we did is definitely a blessing.
You guys going to be Nashvillians, Case?
At the moment, not the moment. I'm trying to get her back here. But right now I'm in the process of staying in Denver. That's what we're going to be at for the moment until we figure out what life is going to bring for us. But once we figure that out, we got about at least 2 or 3 years in Denver, and then from there we'll figure out what life going to bring.
Last one. Anything else? Thanks, Jurrell. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Wow, just a fantastic, not goodbye, because it sounds like, as he said, he's got a lot left to accomplish, but it was great to hear from Jurrell again. He made his retirement official. Great stuff. We'll come back. You want to sound off on that. Phone lines are open. Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, 615-737-1045. It's Blaine and Mickey on 1045 The Zone.
They don't make them like Jurrell Casey.
Quarterback draw. Instead, he's sacked! Jurrell Casey sells out to make the play.
Congratulations on your retirement from 1045 The Zone.
Alex, we're only 34 minutes into the show. You finally get to talk. Your grandmother's going to be happy to hear from you.
That's right. That's what I said during the break. The only person that cares that I haven't said anything yet would be my grandmother listening. She's got it dialed in, Hello, Nanny, if you're listening.
Hey,
She'll
Nanny.
like that I said that. Hey, it's also football time in Tennessee, though. What a great day to fill in, though. This is the time of year, and I love the Jurrell Casey distraction because it kind of keeps you from realizing, oh, man, we still got like 11 days, 12 days, whatever it is, till the Titans play. You wake up today, all right, we got Vols, and then I got my fantasy draft on Sunday. It's like clicking off the days until you get what you really want is to the real action where we can stop hand-wringing over who's going to catch 3 passes and play 8 snaps in 2 games as the Titans' 7th receiver. But you know what I'll say about Jurrell Casey is this. You asked the question, who's the most underrated Titan, with the sort of underlying sentiment that maybe it's Jurrell.
On Blaine and Mickey Twitter, yep, that's a question we just put out there. Who is the most underrated Titans player of all time?
At Blaine and Mickey.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing that you can say about Jurrell Casey is that 2 things. He was part of the turnaround from an organization that looked awful and was terribly uninspiring to where they are today.
Yeah.
But his best ability, and you hear this all the time now in athletics, best ability is availability. Jurrell Casey played every game he could, almost every year. I actually pulled it up because I was so curious. He missed 2 games his last year here, played in 14 others. That's the least he ever played. 16, 16, 15, 16, 16, 15, 16, 15, 14 as a Titan. That's unbelievable, especially for a guy in the trenches who's got 300-pound dudes leaning on him all the time.
Yep.
He burst out in his 3rd year, 10.5 sacks. And what I'm most happy about is Amy Adams-Strunk, the Titans, John Robinson, whomever needed to do it, mending the fences with Jurrell Casey, who was pissed to be going to Denver last year. And you kind of felt, oh, God, is that the way that's got to end for a guy that was such a great player here? Seems like the fences are mended. He goes out a Titan. I don't know if they still do the sign you for 1 day so you can retire to the Titans.
Right.
If they could have, I'm sure that's the sentiment Jurrell Casey would like for him to be remembered with.
This guy played 9 years in Tennessee. Then he had the 1 year in Denver. This is why I ask about Jurrell. And Alex brought up a great point. There was a long time where he carried the water for the defense, and Delaney Walker was that guy on the other side.
And that's all they had.
They had 2 guys. And it's not to say that they didn't have other NFL players. Tony the Stud says, oh, come on, dudes. Keith Bulluck is one of the most underrated players of all time, not even just on the Titans. I agree with that nationally, but Titans fans know how great KB is.
Absolutely.
Titans fans never sleep on Keith Bulluck. Never. Not on number 53. But I get what you're saying, Tony. Nationally, he is completely underrated. Keith Bulluck is one of the most underrated players nationally, so maybe the answer is Keith Bulluck. I was thinking more locally, but yes.
Other than Javon Curse, wouldn't you put Keith Bulluck on your Titans Mount Rushmore if you were making it up of all defensive players? Of course, McNair and Eddie George are on there.
9 and 27. Then where do you go from there?
Then you maybe start to talk about Keith Bulluck.
Well,
Javon Curse. Who else?
I sit with Blaine, and Blaine's out today and tomorrow, so say hey to the hitman if you see him out on the street. But I hear how Blaine talks about Keith Bulluck, and Blaine said when Keith Bulluck got there, he said, we had all starters. And he said, then Keith Bulluck got there and started practicing, and Blaine said, we looked at DC, and we're like, hey, man, why is this guy not what are we doing here? Blaine was kind of do his own way of saying things, and they were like, okay, we're gonna make a package for him. And Blaine was like, they called it extra backer just because he knew he could come out there and do anything. So he was just an extra backer. So Blaine, if you're listening, that's what he's always called. It was extra backer or Bullock. But they just had to start finding ways to put him on the field. But, Bullock played for some really good teams and was drafted the year after the team went to the Super Bowl and played at a high level until he got I was standing in the bleachers that day right in front of where his knee popped, and I thought, oh, no, because it was a contract year, and he was still playing at a really high level when he got hurt. But Jurrell Casey could have gone to a couple other Pro Bowls, but didn't want to go as an alternate. So he went to 5 in 9 years. And for everybody who is a freak guy or gal, which all of you are, everybody loves Javon Curse. If somebody didn't tell you anything else about Jurrell Casey, but they said this, okay, the number 1 Titans, not Oilers, the number 1 Titans sack guy of all time is Javon Curse. He has 52 sacks. Jurrell Casey has 51.
51. I was just looking at it.
He's 1 sack behind the man we called the Freak.
The one thing that the Freak didn't have is longevity with the Titans. He went to Philadelphia. Now, that was in a different time of the salary cap. The Titans had to purge the entire defense. I mean, Floyd Reese fell on the sword. Big one on that. The late Floyd Reese. I mean, you talk about some good drafting. You went Javon Curse and Keith Bullock in back-to-back drafts. Hello. But,
yeah,
Jurrell Casey played a position to kind of a defensive tackle. He played, basically an end in the 3-4. It's a little bit less sexy than what Javon Curse was asked to do in the 4-3.
Yeah.
But, I mean, an incredible player that had the ability to dominate a game occasionally like that. Here's my best Jurrell Casey memory. And the Titans actually put it out on Twitter today. And this is really, it might also be my last Jurrell Casey memory in the division round against the Ravens now 2 years ago. The sack of Lamar. I think that was the sack that made Lamar Jackson fumble the ball.
It did.
Titans were already up, and you just knew, we got you, pal. The Titans were going to win that game. They were coming after him. Lamar Jackson was rattled. Jurrell Casey was wagging his finger as he went off the field. I mean, that is a Titans moment for me as a fan. That was one of the most joyous moments in Titans history. I mean, I can't believe this. We're about to go to the AFC Championship game, take out Tom Brady and Lamar Jackson in back-to-back games. Jurrell Casey was a huge part of that. But it shows you, too, how quickly it comes to the end.
Oh,
the
gosh.
NFL. 5 sacks that year.
Yeah.
The next year he's traded. I mean, he plays for like 5 minutes in Denver. He played in 3 games. He had no sacks. He had 3 tackles. And it's over.
Brent Doherty and I were standing in the locker room after they lost to the Chiefs, and we were doing some interviews, and Jurrell would always talk to you no matter what. Good, bad, best day of his life, worst day. Jurrell would always say, hey, man, what you need? And we were interviewing Jurrell. And this may be on my phone, but I'm having trouble with the thing that records that. But one of the younger players kind of got up and was, gosh, kind of, you could tell he's frustrated. And Jurrell, and this haunts me because he never got to come back. He looked at him and he goes, young fella, the grind starts today. We're going to be back. Young fella, don't be mad. Grind starts today. We'll be back. Jurrell, in the middle of an interview, he's like, oh, sorry, guys, hold on. He stopped to encourage a younger player. Like, that's who Jurrell Casey was.
There's some real wisdom in that, and you wonder, too, how much did losing his leadership. Now, we're not in the locker room all the time. As much as we know people or can go in it some of the time, we're not there all the time. How much of a role Jurrell Casey played in mentoring and getting people aligned and that kind of thing. The Titans' defense, as soon as he left, was different.
Yeah. Well,
Jeffrey Simmons might be a great player, but he didn't have that. Whatever that is that Jurrell Casey had the year before that had them playing so well. And I know you lost Gene Pease, but, I mean, he was a piece of what was missing last year and what the Titans are now hoping to recapture.
Sure. Well, Jurrell Casey, number 99, just a fantastic player for all this. And I'll say this again, tip of the cap to Amy Adams-Strunk and to John Robinson, everybody down there, because they continue to make all the right moves off the field. Now, will they win a Super Bowl? I don't know. But they're doing so many things that are right off the field, and reconciling with Jurrell Casey was something that needed to happen, and they just went and did it. So a beautiful ceremony today. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the first hour of the show. We will talk Vols because we do know it's game day. It's all coming up. Blaine and Mickey with special guest host Alex Apple.
With an expanding SEC coming, Coach Josh Heupel is out to bring you a much improved fall season.
This is Coach Josh Heupel. Follow all of the action of Tennessee football all season here on your home of the Vols, 104.5 The Zone.
Alex. He says,
What up?
Yeah, what up to Lonzo always says hello on here. Tony,
What's up with Lonzo?
Tony the Stud continues to weigh in on underrated players. Frank Wycheck, he says Derek Mason, Cortland Finnegan, probably three of the more underrated players on the Titans roster that nationally didn't get a lot of recognition either. Blaine and I looked this up. Derek Mason is 19th all time in the NFL in yards.
Well, when you asked who's the most underrated, that's
who you said was. Oh, you said wouldn't it have to be Derek Mason? Derek Mason. There's 32 teams in the NFL, and Derek Mason leads 2 of them. He leads 2 of them in receiving.
He leads the Ravens
Yes.
in receiving.
He's,
oh my gosh!
There's
I didn't
only
even realize
32
he played
teams
that long.
And Derek Mason, yes, he played there as long as he played here.
Wow!
I'd have to go back and look, but I want to say it was about the same. He played forever.
I'm actually truly amazed by that. It
He
seemed like
leads-
he was there only a couple of years.
No, it was longer than that. There are 32 teams, and Derek Mason
I'm gonna have to
leads
look that
2
up.
of them in receiving. He's 19th all time, and I guess that stat is considered. I don't know if it's not total yards because quarterbacks get credit for total yards. It's all-purpose yards because his kick return, then his punt return, and then he's
the only good return guy other than Mariani for 10 minutes that the Titans have ever had.
well, except for you're forgetting the other one. He just came through and waved and caused some trouble through the way. Pac-Man.
Oh, you
Pac-Man
remember
was-
Pac-Man's first preseason?
Ooh, he was a
That
great
dude went back to catch the punts, fumbled almost every one. He'd fumble it, and then he'd return it for 25 yards. No, you're right. And I'm looking up how many years he played with Baltimore from 2005 to
You're about to make
2010.
people sad because he was 5 to 10 with Baltimore.
5 to 10, and then 4 to 97 for the Titans.
Okay.
Now the first 3 years he combined to start 2 games the first 3 years. He's also rare in that respect. I mean, he came on like we're talking about Derek Mason here. He came on. There's not many players that break out in the 4th year and then the 4th year catch 63 passes after the previous year catching 8. But you've amazed me. I mean, leading 2 teams.
He leads 2 teams, and he's 19. This 101st, 102nd year of the NFL. 100. This is the 101st year of the NFL. Last year was 100. So 7 people have rushed for 2,000 yards in NFL history. Derek Mason is one of those people walking. I'm sorry, Derrick Henry is one of the people walking the earth who've done that. 7 or 8. I think it's 7. And then Derek Mason is walking the earth as one of the 20th highest yardage totals in the history of the NFL. And he didn't play in the passing NFL now. So guys are padding their stats in other ways. He just played forever and was super consistent. Like you said, for 3 years, he was mainly a return man. So he did that all after the 4th year and back.
Well, I think you've convinced me then of my own answer that
Derek
Mason's most
is the
underrated.
most
He's the most
underrated
underrated
Titan of all
because
time.
you look at him in the context too of the Titans, right? They haven't been blessed with a plethora of good receivers. Somebody else said Drew Bennett. I think Drew Bennett is overrated. He was pretty good for a couple of years there, but it was a pretty brief as far as being even somebody that you would approach saying he's a dominant player. I don't think he was ever dominant.
He made it to very good, and when you factor into that he was Cade McNown's backup at UCLA, he was a quarterback till his last year, and I want to say he caught.
Reminds me of somebody else.
It was
Ryan Danick.
Yeah, that's true. I think he caught less than 10 passes that year, and then he just comes to the Titans, and people are like, "Who's this guy?" And it's like, "Oh my gosh, look at him run!
Well,
oh my gosh, look at him jump! Oh my gosh, who is this person?" And then when we started interviewing him, I don't know if you remember this because you would have been really young.
Yeah.
Somebody asked him like, "What's the craziest thing you've ever done?" He's like, "Stayed up late with my friends one night, and they bet me that I couldn't run the LA Marathon, so I did it." They're like, "You did
Oh
what?"
my
And he's like,
gosh.
"Yeah, I just went and ran it. I ran it the next day."
But he's proof of actually, this is going to turn it all back to modern Titans football. Derek Mason's the same way. Some guys come on late. That's the answer John Robinson gave for Des Fitzpatrick, who is on pace to be the most talked about 4th-round draft pick in Titans history, when they were saying, why did that work out? And John Robinson's answer, I don't know that it didn't work out. Some guys take longer to adjust. Well, I mean, you'd have to hope that if he can follow in those 2 guys' footsteps, that's proof that it at least can happen. I have no idea if Des Fitzpatrick is ever going to come on. He isn't off to a good start, and it's not trending that direction.
No.
Let those two guys show it's possible.
Well, again, we got the question out now, who's the most underrated Titans player of all time? We may have just convinced ourselves in the studio. And Alex, first off the cuff, he goes, I think it's Derek Mason. And now that we've talked about it, he's like, I really think it's Derek Mason. TG says on Twitter, Michael Roos has to be on the list. A true franchise left tackle for a long time. No one talked about him. My father's son on Twitter says Drew Bennett. Mark says Samari Roll. Cousin Danny in the Borough says, I always thought Josh Evans got a bad rap. God bless his soul. He passed away earlier this year. But he said the most underrated is probably Keith Bulluck.
I like the name that I like the most off of that is Michael Roos. You really didn't know how good you had it when you had Michael Roos and Big Country David Stewart anchoring the offensive line for 6, 7, 8 years there.
Yep.
I mean, 2 contracts each at least. And now you've got the Titans. That's just hard to find. I mean, you appreciate some of these guys so much more in hindsight. Look at the Titans' right tackle right now. I mean, Jack Conklin was flawed, but he held down that spot pretty well for the years that he was here. Now you've got 3 guys. I mean, I think they're going to be okay there. Kendall Lamb or Sombrello or
and maybe the guy they took in the second round will get in the mix over
Dylan
there
Radins.
at some point.
Maybe.
Dylan Radins.
But you appreciate them more as time goes on.
All right, lots more college football talk, Titans talk as well. But we do realize this is Vols game day. We got Coach Mathews coming in. We'll hit all that next. 3HL for Life, by the way, says Cortland Finnegan comes to mind as most underrated Titan. Keep those coming too on Twitter at Blaine and Mickey, or call us on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline 615-737-1045. Hour number 2 of Blaine and Mickey coming up next.
There's only one place to get Ron Slay.
Because what we about to do as the SEC is take over. I'm telling y'all, man, y'all better be on the lookout. It's Trash Talk Friday, and I'm talking. We're going to get up there to the top. We got the best cut man in the corner, Josh Hyper. We're gonna be okay.
Brent Doherty, Dawn Davenport, and Ron Slay take you on a sleigh ride during your drive home. The 3HL. Today, starting at 3 on 104.5 The Zone.
college football season is getting
baby.
started. And I say that with all due respect to all those jokers who played last week, because there was a week 0. But let's just say this. Everybody starts tonight. Blaine Bishop out today. Alex Apple is sitting in. Alex, I'm going to tell you this. I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure that I mentioned this. I wrote, I hate Thursday games.
Why?
And then
Not
I wrote
on the opener.
Then I wrote next to it, all administrators do. You know who hates Thursday games? Everybody who works in college athletics.
Why do these schools keep signing up for them then?
That's a great question. Do you know why?
Well, for TV.
TV. That's
Yeah.
the answer to everything. If I ask you anything about college athletics, just why are these teams switching conferences? TV.
But I like it in an opener. Now, normally on a Saturday, if they're playing, week 6 on Thursday, I just wake up on Saturday and say, oh, well, I wish the Vols were playing. But giving it to me a couple of days early, especially for the Vols, right? Ease me into this pain here, right? You're playing the worst team that you played in a while. This team is no Georgia State. They were actually a pretty good team that year. They even contended for their conference championship.
Yeah, their conference being the Sun Belt.
Now, the Vols made them a lot better than they were. But they should roll Bowling Green. 37-point favorite. I mean, when was the last time the Vols were favored by 37 points? The last time they played Bishop Sycamore was State high school team.
Maybe it was Georgia State. Well, last time Bowling Green was competent was 2015 was the last time the Vols played Bowling Green.
And they were really good that year.
They're a 10-win team.
Yeah, but who was their coach?
Dino Babers went on to Syracuse.
Right. Yeah, well, and, he's even had some success. Well, he can he can coach offense. I don't know if he can coach defense a lick. My wife is a Syracuse grad, so I've followed them a little bit. I think, look, let's get into the discussion this way. We were just talking about Lucas came in the studio during the break, and he was talking about somebody liking soccer and having so much more joy in his life having watched soccer and gotten into that as opposed to, going through the slog with his Vols, so to speak. And here's why I think Tennessee has a hope to beat. I have no idea if Josh Heupel's going to be a good coach. I hope he is.
Right.
He at least comes with an expertise, right? Jeremy Pruitt did, but he was such a grump. I don't think that he was ever embraced by the program, the fans. Butch Jones did not. He was an executive head coach. Josh Heupel has this offense that you hope we're going to get a great look at it tonight because you should score a lot of points against Bowling Green that you hope is exciting. And every time things went bad for the Vols, and I've said this before, it's like they feel what the fans feel. The players, it's imparted onto them. And I don't know if that's a fault of Jeremy Pruitt and his coaching staff and Butch Jones and his coaching staff. The booties get real tight real quick in Knoxville as soon as things go bad. And I think that you can fall back on teammates that love one another. There is joy back in the program. Hopefully they're having fun. You have to love one another, right? I mean, you have to love playing with the guys that you play with. I coach a 9th grade basketball team, and I tell them the same thing. You have to love the guys that you play with, or you will never be successful. I hope that there's joy back in the program, and when things go bad, they go bad. It's going to happen. You're able to weather that a little bit more, and I hope Josh Heupel has brought that. Because, it was when the coach is tight, everything's angry, it's imparted on down, and it hits the fans. Everyone felt it last year with Jeremy Pruitt. I hope that's what's changed. And I think that's going to be a big part of their success or lack thereof if it hasn't.
Well, and there's a lot to get to that you said, but aside from maybe there is some actual joy in the building. Maybe those kids actually do like what they're doing again. Maybe
I have talked to enough people that have all universally said that. Okay. I'm very confident that that's the case.
So let's say that's a given then. Hey, people are actually enjoying football again out there because it sure doesn't sound like there was a lot of that going on. But when you say the man has a level of expertise about something, he does, and that's his offense. It goes. Blaine went to the spring game and said, everybody said it was fast, and I sat in the stands and watched it, and I couldn't believe how fast it was. And that made me think about this. I've said all along, the goal for them is just like Lane Kiffin's first year at Ole Miss, that the offense is so good, you don't notice how terrible the defense is. And it's so good that you win half your games.
Yeah.
And really that's
and you win an exciting brand. I mean, would it kill the Vols to go out and score 50? Go out and score 50 tonight.
If they go out and score 50 tonight because This is a game day for Tennessee. We have gotten not one thing in the zone TV chat about the Vols playing tonight. Now, I'm sure if we bring it up and say, hey, if you're in zone TV chat, mention the Vols, and they will. I would ask this question to anybody, and I'll say this. These kind of games make me uneasy because every school plays them. Now, in the case of my school, Arkansas State, like we're playing University of Central Arkansas tomorrow night. It's a 1AA school. They've actually beaten us in the last 10 years. They've beaten us in the last 5 years. That shouldn't happen.
You think it's a nothing to gain, everything to lose game?
It's nothing to gain, everything to lose. So if you beat them 42-7, it's like, okay, that's great, but what does that really mean? I always have questions after games like this, and my school is the school that goes and plays Tennessee for $1.5 million to go get beat.
Counterpoint, though, since this is the head coach's first game, you kind of need proof of concept. These guys have bought into him, hopefully. They like his mojo, his juju. They've enjoyed practicing and playing for them, for their coaches. But now you're going to get proof of concept, right? I mean, and there's a lot of new faces. Joe Milton. I can go out here and play again. I played really well at Michigan in the first couple of games, and then I hurt my thumbs.
Yeah.
And I couldn't play anymore. There's going to be a lot of proof of concept. I think that's important for the Vols. I mean, because if you start out with Cal, the Vols played Cal a couple of times back when they had Deshaun Jackson, and the Vols were still pretty good, and Phil Fulmer was still the coach. It's just hard. I think that's more of a everything to lose game for the Vols right now. All you have to do is beat Bowling Green. Right,
but if you beat
them, it's going to be embarrassing if you win 17-14.
If you do,
then because it's his first game, it's proof of concept to me.
I think I don't think people care about the concept if they win 7-15. I think people would be like, "Oh,
right.
Sweet Lord,
that was a little hyperbolic.
Oh, sweet Lord, please
hyperbolic.
no," because this means so much to so many people, and they have suffered so much. And just so many terrible things have happened, and there are millions of dollars being paid to people not to coach or not to administrate.
Yeah.
But if you look at this, and Tony, hold on, we'll get to you in just a second. So I thought, let me look at last year for Heupel at UCF because they went 6-4. There was COVID. It was a weird year for everybody. They went 6-4. It wasn't like the year before they went 10-3. But what they score in a year that they went 6-4. This is what they scored in their 10 games. 58, 51, 51, 49, 49, 44.
And they're losing some of these games?
They lost 50-49 to Memphis. They lost a game, they scored 49.
Hey, I'll take that over Jeremy Pruitt's way of losing.
But if you go out and watch them, because Memphis is good. And if you go and watch the Vols lose to a really good team, it's 50-49, you would leave there and go, hey, man, I wish they would have won. But, oh, my gosh, I didn't let go of my seat till the end. So 58, 51, 51, 49, 49, 44, 38. They won that one. They lost the 3 games that they lost. The one to Memphis where they scored 49. They scored 33, 26, and 23. They lost each one of those games.
But at least they'd be fun and bad. Even if they have a bad year, they're fun and bad. Their only worst combination is the Garantano bad and boring. And here's what I think about Tennessee.
Yeah.
Here's how I'm going to judge success. And everyone's perception is going to be different, so this is a moving target. If the sort of underlying thought at the end of the year is they were a little bit better than I thought, they're a little bit ahead of pace, they're out-kicking their coverage, so to speak, maybe a few more recruits start to come. And Heupel gets some momentum that he can build something around, as opposed to the foe. Well, if you look at their last 3 games, they played really well against, Vanderbilt and 2 other bad teams, and maybe we build off of that. You just need to sort of outkick whatever everyone's expectation is. So if that's 6 wins, great. If your expectation is 8, then they need to win 9, and that's going to be harder. If your expectation is 3, they need to win 4.
Yeah.
To kind of have people thinking that they're ahead of schedule. Because that's not been the case for Tennessee for, how long?
If they win 6 games and they're entertaining, I will consider that ahead of schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony the Stud is ahead of schedule. He's been waiting for a couple of minutes. Tony, thanks for calling the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline on Blaine and Mickey.
What's going on, guys? How you doing today?
Doing great.
Hey, Tony.
Man, I just I figured I'd get on this Vol train since it's Vols Day. LFG GBO, you know what I mean? I'm already hyped up. The day gets longer, and oh man, I'm just starting to really feel it. Vols will score 57 tonight. Okay, they'll score 57 tonight. They'll give up 16. I think the defense is going to have to put up a couple of scores though. So here's what I'm thinking. here's my whole question about this whole thing right now is we've been talking about the points, obviously, and, we think Josh Heupel's going to score a lot of points. We think that offense is going to be cool, and if it is good, you don't have to rely on the defense as much. But, I do want to see a decent defense tonight. I want to see some turnovers. I want to see some interceptions. I want to see some big hits for some fumbles. I want to see everything. I don't want to just see little bits and pieces of something. I want them to get fully prepared for Pittsburgh, because there's no question Tennessee's going to win this game tonight. The question is, are we coming into tomorrow and talking about being disappointed if Tennessee doesn't win by 35, if they don't win by 30, and the score is something crazy like, a 29-17 or something like that? Because, all of the Vols fans, including y'all, all want this Tennessee team to succeed. It's been far too long. So, hey, let's go Vols, man. Let's go, baby. It's game day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Tony.
I love it, Tony.
Yeah, this Thursday thing, I came from a school that played a lot of Thursday games. You have trouble selling tickets. If you've watched the Vols social media, they've been like, hey, here's a 2-for-1. Hey, get this and buy this. And they've been working hard to sell those tickets. Thursday night is a tough sell. Not because a bunch of you don't want to go, but there's a bunch of people sitting in their car going, I'm in a car line picking up my kids. I can't make it there to that game. They got school tomorrow.
I can't tailgate for 8 hours like I do on a Sunday.
I can't do it. No. So there's a lot of people who cannot go to that game. So you basically start going to everybody in the community like, hey, man, you live down the street. Why can't you come? Hey, man, you 20 minutes away. You need to come. It's a tough sell. This, to me, would be much more exciting if it was on a Saturday, because it would feel like we were ramping up at the normal pace towards a Saturday. Yes, Lucas Panzica.
So my junior year at UT, opener against Appalachian State was a Thursday night. So they canceled all the classes that day. Obviously, Tennessee was a preseason top 10 team, a lot of expectations that ultimately ended in disappointment. But they're the number 9 team in the country playing Appalachian State. The environment was incredible because of all the hype there. So now with the new coaching staff and all the expectation that comes with the offense and Josh Heupel, I don't anticipate a notch down in environment at Neyland Stadium. Now, that App State game was miserable for everybody because it was close and went to overtime.
Hey, they won.
And they got very lucky. They should have lost, but they won. That's beside the point. But I don't think the environment will be notched down any.
No, the environment's going to be nuts because the fans who are there always deliver.
And because it's always nuts.
And because they got the new LED lights and they're always working on new things. Look, you can say anything you want about. I'm not from here. I didn't grow up here. I don't have any ties to University of Tennessee. But I'll say this. I know great fans, and they're great fans, and they're passionate and they're emotional. And here's the deal, and I learned this, again, working in my time in college administration. You want fans to be extremely happy, and you'll even take it when they're mad. What you don't want is when they're apathetic and don't care.
Like and last year. Look, I grew up
Lucas is like last year.
I grew up a Vols fan. We'll take a break soon, I'm guessing. But let me just say this. Every year, it's like it just comes back. You get excited again. My wife and I just got married. We were dated for 7 years. For most of those 7 years, it's been miserable to be a Vols fan. You had like a quick blip with Butch Jones. So as far as she's concerned, every time I watch a Vols game, it ends up upsetting. She's like, man, I can't believe you do that over and over and over. But it's just a part of being the Vols fan. You got to ride them high. You got to ride them low. I got to go to Lebanon after the show, and on my way back home, it's going to be about 5 o'clock, and I'm going to be fired up for the game that starts in 2 hours. I'll have Rocky Top on, and I'll be YouTube and John Ward's greatest calls driving down the interstate. Holloway at the 5, Holloway dives. That'll all be on, and there's so many Vols fans like that, and that's what makes the University a sleeping giant. If you didn't have that, people giving up on the program a long time ago.
Well, Doug Mathews has been there during the best of times and has spent a lot of games on those sidelines coaching, and he's going to break all of it down, what's happening tonight. Doug Mathews next on Blaine and Mickey with special guest Alex Apple.
Jurrell Casey, not too shabby for a third-round pick in the 2011 draft.
Bortles steps up. Bortles hit. Bortles sack! Jurrell Casey!
We salute the career of Jurrell Casey, number 99, from Titans Radio and 104.5 The Zone.
No one wants to go to the vehicle repair shop. It's like going to the doctor for an operation. The typical first reaction is, how do I know that I really need what they say I need? Sometimes you really wonder if you're getting a repair recommendation or you're making someone else's mortgage payment. Blaine Bishop here to tell you that people are tired of getting bamboozled. And if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of auto repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. Eurofix repairs everything European. So if you feel like you've been lied to or taken advantage of when it comes to auto repair, come and check out Eurofix. It's a place you can trust.
days at the same time. Well, it just so happens, Coach, that today it's for game day. I mean, we're just hours away from the season kickoff on a Thursday night. And before we even get into any of that, first of all, hello. And second of all, I know you got to go to a ceremony today and see some Vol legends get honored, and that's always a great thing.
Really was. Drove up early this morning. They had a deal unveiling of the 4 statues of they're calling the Trailblazer statues. And it was really just an excellent event. Lester McLean spoke for the group of 4. 2 of them were there. T. Martin, of course, is coaching with the Ravens, and Jackie Walker passed away several years ago. And it was for Lester McLean, Jackie Walker, as I mentioned, Condris Holloway, and T. Martin. And they had their statues were there. They unveiled them. It was a beautiful ceremony. And I tell you, as good-looking statues, sometimes those are hard to do, but really, really kind of caught what each of those players brought. It was neat. Coach Doug Mathews was there, who recruited and coached both Lester and Jackie. And, of course, Coach Fulmer was there, who Philip actually was part of all 4 of them. He played with the first 3 and then, of course, recruited and coached T. Martin. But it was a wonderful event. The chancellor did a great job. First time I'd heard her speak. Very impressive. The athletic director, Danny White, did an excellent job. And then Lester spoke for the class. But it was neat. It really was. And when it's down at gate 21, and that's where the team will comes in all the time after the ball walk. It's something that is really going to be a special place, and it was. I'm glad I had an opportunity to be part of it. It was a invitation only deal, and but it was excellent, very well covered, and just an excellent deal.
Well, I'm glad you got to go, and it just sounds amazing. I saw those statues, too, and was blown away by how cool they were. I wanted to ask you this, Coach, before we get into some specifics about tonight, but you were part of a whole lot of these opening nights as a player and as a coach in college football. What were your thoughts, say right now, this many hours out before the opening game? What were the main things you were thinking about and focused on at this point before a season opener?
Well, as a player, every game was every game, but especially the opening night, you're ready to go. You were ready to play. As a coach, a little bit more so, you knew you probably were ready to, certainly from a excitement standpoint, you were certainly ready to go, but you always had just a little voice in the back of your head, did I cover every single thing that I needed to cover in this ball game, knowing that there were probably going to be some things happening in opening games. Maybe they weren't going to. I noticed the Nebraska and Illinois game, the Scott Frost said in that ball game afterwards, hey, they did some things offensively that our defense wasn't ready for. So you're always kind of aware of that. And quite frankly, a lot of it has to do with who you're playing. When you open up with a team that is really good, that's a little bit different than opening up with one that you probably should beat. I was fortunate enough we had many of the openers we had were normally games that if we played well, we knew we were going to win, but not always. I was in Tennessee. We opened up the first 2 years I was there. We opened up with Georgia, and then we played Southern Cal the second ball game. So that you have a little bit more consternation, I guess, after that. And as it always helps, it helps if you have really good players. If you know you got really good players, then you really don't worry about too much other than going out and playing.
Got Coach Doug Mathews joining us here by phone, courtesy of the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. If you are planning to drink, don't plan to drive. The Tennessee Highway Safety Office reminds you that fans don't let fans drive drunk. Especially remember that tonight, Vol fans, because it is game day. Coach Doug Mathews joins us. Alex Apple sitting in today for Blaine, Coach, and he's ready to talk to you.
Coach, I'm fired up.
Yes.
I'm a longtime Vols fan. I want you to help me calibrate expectations for me and everybody else that's listening right now. A successful night for Joe Milton, the quarterback in his first game for Tennessee, looks like what to you? And I hope that you can give us a little color in there of just how good you think Joe Milton will be, especially early on as he's still getting comfortable just as the coaches are.
Well, Tennessee only had 2 scrimmages. I say only. Normally, in the preseason, you have usually 3. But Coach Heupel went with 2. That may be what he's always done. I don't know. But all of them were 1 against 1, 2 against 2, and 3 against 3. There was no 1 against the rest, where you want to see what you really want to see some execution. That was his style. That's what he did. What will be successful for me, what I'm going to be looking for is this, and it doesn't really have anything to do with points. It has to do with what this team looks like from a technique standpoint, from a play standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, because really all of last year, that was something that on game day, this team did not exhibit. They did not look like a well-coached football team. From what I've seen in the scrimmages, that appears to me to be greatly different. You have to wait and see what happens in the games, of course, to get that. But that's what I'm going to be looking for. I believe from everything I've seen that defensively, this team is going to line up correctly. They're going to do some good things in that area, and those are all good things. So that's what I'm going to be looking. It really doesn't have anything to do with points. It doesn't have anything to do with who plays particularly well. This is an opponent that, quite frankly, is not very good. They weren't very good last year. They're not going to be very good this year, I don't think. But just to go see Tennessee, if they'll go out there and really look like a well-coached team, and that this offense can perform anywhere near, and again, I'm not talking about points, but I'm talking about show some excitement, they'll get this Tennessee fan base back quickly because, as I mentioned on Big Orange Sunday this past week, this fan base is starved for a team that looks like a good football team, and plays like a good football team. So that's what I'll be expecting. As far as Joe Milton, the 2 scrimmages both the scrimmages that I saw, he looked athletically like he was going to be the starter. Now they rotated everybody in almost the exact same number of plays, but I thought that he looked the best in that group. Hooker is mobile also. Bailey's a young man that I hope that he stays at Tennessee because I think eventually he will really be a top-notch quarterback. But this team, and this comes from Coach Heupel, I think he feels like this team needs a quarterback that's a little bit more mobile than Bailey is. But I hope they all stay, but I really hope Bailey stays because I think down the road he can be a Mac Jones type player. Not saying he'll play as well as Mac Jones played, but he's that type of player. He's a pocket quarterback. The other 2 guys are much more mobile, and I think that's why right now certainly why Milton has the edge.
Coach Doug Mathews with us. Coach, I got another question about something. Compared to last year, you're not hearing nearly as much about them. That's the offensive line. But I look at the 2 deep. You still have Darnell Wright's played a lot of football. Cade Mays played a lot of football. Jerome Carvin played a lot of football. And then I think at center, the younger Mays brother, Cooper, shapes up to be a pretty good player as well. Is this offensive line still serviceable? I mean, I haven't heard much chatter about them at all. Certainly not that they're going to be terrible. But I think that that's something that a new quarterback, new running back, a lot of new skill position players can lean on if they can carry them a little bit.
Well, they've got 6 players that they're going the game with that they're I think they feel really good about. A couple of more that hopefully can come along as the season goes along. There's no question that losing Calvert hurt. They had 7, I think, good football players, but the sense Calvert being hurt is going to force Cade Mays to go outside to tackle. I think they probably would rather have him inside, but you got to play where you got to play. You mentioned Spraggett and Carvin. That's going to be your 2 guards. Wright will be the other tackle. And then Cooper Mays will start at center. I think Dane Davis has shown that he can be a capable backup, maybe better than that. They brought a junior college kid in named Crawford, who is a big physical kid. They got some younger guys too, but I think they'll go with those 6 linemen, and that's a position. I've said this many times. Some of the best teams that I coached on up here, we had 5 offensive linemen that played the whole game. That's not a position you substitute a lot of players at. Now, you certainly have to have some for injuries and things like that. But and I'll tell you one thing that'll help this offensive line too. They're a physical group, but what's really going to help them, I think, is this fast-paced offense, because you do not have a lot of time defensively to do a lot of different things. I mean, what this head football coach is going to try to snap the ball with 30 seconds left on the 40-second clock. Now, there will be times when he'll move them in and out, and they'll look to the sideline. But I had Tom Ritter on my Saturday show, and Tom, of course, former head referee of the Southeastern Conference, also head of the replay, had talked to the crews, the SEC crews that did both of Tennessee's scrimmages. And he told me that every one of them said this will be the fastest offense of anything we've seen that we've been doing in the conference for the last couple of years. So they're going to play fast, they're going to go quick, and they're going to make you line up and play quickly. So all of that helps the defense, an offense against a defense like this.
Man, I really like that, Mickey.
Coach Doug Mathews breaking it down for us here. Literally, it is game day. We're just hours away. You can hear it all tonight on 104.5 The Zone. Now, maybe this is a night that you don't need to know, but at some point you're going to have to know. Does this team have enough pass rush?
Do they have enough what? Sorry, excuse me?
Enough pass rush?
Don't know. Didn't have it last year.
Yeah.
There is no question that their better defense been. Number one, they've gone to a 4-man front instead of a 3-man front. Tyler Barron, who had some really good moments last year, he has the athletic ability to be an excellent pass rusher. Byron Young, who is a junior college player coming on the other side, has that ability too. Now, and one thing I want to touch on too, I've heard some people kind of talking about this, about who the starters are going to be. I wouldn't put much stock in who the starters are in this particular game. Because I know that Coach Heupel, some of these young men, especially the seniors, he is rewarding them for staying and being the leaders on this team. It's never about who starts. It's about who ends and who continues, who plays the majority of the game. And you're going to see some of these younger guys, particularly the transfers, are going to get in there pretty darn quick. They won't start in many instances, but they'll be in there really quick. So what I'm going to be looking for is, I'm not going to be looking particularly at who the starters are, other than the quarterback position. But I'm going to be looking at who the players are that come in there pretty quickly and what they'll do. Because I've seen enough on both sides of the ball of the younger guys. Well, I shouldn't say the newer players. Some are younger guys, some are transfers. Tennessee's got 13 transfers this year, 10 transfers, and then from transfer portal, and 3 from junior college. So they brought in more transfers this year than they did high school freshmen. So high school seniors coming in to be freshmen. So and that's what I would be if that's what I'll be looking for. That's what I would do if I was a Tennessee fan, looking at seeing who's in there playing. And you're going to see more quickness at the tackle or the defensive end position. You're going to see, I think, more quickness, a little more depth in the secondary. And I think Tennessee fans will really like these two-line running backs. We've seen the small kid last year, but this Evans kid is he's a good-looking player. And I think Jalen Hyatt, if he stays healthy, will be one of the best that Tennessee has had ever. Wow. If he stays healthy and can live up to his potential. So there's some pluses there, and there's also some areas, that the depth may be a problem, may not. Linebacker, not exactly sure what we're going to see there, but the big thing is they if they get the play that they think they have and hope to get out of the quarterback position, this is going to be an offense that'll be fun to watch.
Man, I love that, Coach. You're getting me fired up. I was going to ask about Jalen Hyatt. I think he's a guy that I'll go into the game watching because I think he was maybe a little underutilized last year, but you just gave him high praise. So let me ask you a different question. Is the joy back in this program? Can I get excited about the guys playing for one another, wanting to play for their coaches? I feel like the players feel it, the fans feel it, the coaching staff certainly felt it last year. When things went bad, it got tight really quickly. And I guess I'm hoping that what everyone's telling me, that the joy is back in this program. They're enjoying just playing the game. That should be fun. It should be about joy. And that's got me excited for this team, even though they've not played a game. I mean, am I barking up the wrong tree there, or is that something that I should have a little bit of hope in?
Well, if you are, I mean, I mentioned this on the Big Orange Sunday show. You know, I go into every season, especially with a new coach, believing that I'm going to see a good football team, because I know from coaching there 10 years and knowing what other coaches have done there. When Tennessee gets the right coach, Tennessee will play well. There's no doubt about that. In my opinion, I've seen they've done it throughout their history, almost 100 years of it. But they got to get the right coach, and for whatever reason, the last 3 or 4 have not been the right coach. And hopefully, Josh Heupel is that. But once that happens, this place has too much history. It has too much potential. They got too much facility. They got too big of a fan base. You know, there's hundreds of thousands, and I literally mean hundreds of thousands of people in this state and outside this state that would follow this team closely, very closely. And I don't hear from 100,000 of them, but I hear from enough of them to know that that's all this fan base is waiting for. They're waiting for a good-looking, well-coached football team. And if they get that out of Josh Heupel, he's gonna be a success up here, because with that will come the recruiting. You put a product out there that looks good, that plays hard, and shows potential. The recruiting will come with that, but that's what has to happen. And we, quite frankly, haven't had that the last few years. We haven't had a team that's fun to watch. We haven't had a team that looks well coached. And until hopefully we're going to have that this year. That's what I thought I saw in the scrimmages. I'm anxious to see if I'm going to see it tonight.
Well, Coach, we love talking to you, especially on game day. Tennessee Highway Safety Office making it possible. As always, we're going to do this every week, talking to Coach Doug Mathews, and you want a full report on this. Football Saturday right here on the Zone with Coach, and Big Orange Sunday. Again, Coach is going to have you covered all weekend, too. Thank you, Coach, and enjoy tonight's game.
You bet. Good talking to you all, and we'll talk next Thursday.
Yes, sir. I always love talking to Coach Doug Mathews every Thursday. Just bank on it. And again, tonight, Vols football here on the Zone. We'll be right back. We got to wrap things up. You want to jump in, talk any college football on the way out? We'll talk a little bit more of that and more. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone.
Coming up today on the 3HL.
It's Greg Cosell Day, the very best in the business. We'll go through the Titans 53 with Greg Cosell from NFL Film. What else is going on tomorrow?
It's game day.
Whoa.
That's what's going on.
Oh.
I told you yesterday it was football time in Tennessee. It's going down.
I'm ready.
Oh, you better be. Hard hats and seatbelts, baby.
Let's go.
Today, starting at 3 p.m. on 104.5 The Zone.
people. And I know we say that about people sometimes. Oh, God, that's a good guy. That's a good dude. But Alex, Jurrell Casey is genuinely a good person. He and his wife have done so much work in the community, and I know they're in Denver now, and he alluded to that he planned to get back to Tennessee. He also said he's going to finish college. He said he left USC as a junior. He said, first thing I'm going to do is finish college. That's the first thing I'm going to do. This guy's a taskmaster. Whatever he sets his mind to, he's going to accomplish. But he's done a lot for a lot of people. He's a two-time finalist for the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. And for people who don't know what that means a guy who is more than just a great football player, but great in his specific community. But he and his lovely wife, Ryan, one year we had a Jurrell Casey show when I was doing 3HL, and Jurrell came on with us every week, and his wife would come down sometimes, and beautiful family, and they're beautiful people. And I love Jurrell, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Well, and Lucas tweeted, or somebody tweeted at Lucas, please explain why you think he should be in the Titans Ring of Honor one day. I share that opinion. I think he probably will be. Second all-time in sacks, 51 to Javon Curse's 52. A lot of people wouldn't realize
You
that.
could stop right there.
But I said...
Because literally, you could
yeah.
That could be the argument. He's got one less sack than the Freak for the Titans.
But and I added to that conversation, I'm not sure this gets you in the Ring of Honor because that matters a lot about what you do on the field. But what he did in the community is a way, creates a legacy that a lot of people in Nashville will remember him by. Anybody who had the chance to interact with him was impacted by him, was helped by him, and his wife and his family will remember that. And he did as good a job at that as anybody. And when you have guys like that come through Nashville and the Titans and endear the team to the city and play well and are great people off the field, that's how you grow something really special. If you went to the last preseason game, my dad and I both walked out of that saying, that's the best atmosphere I've ever seen in a preseason game. There was booing, cheering. You don't have that usually in a preseason game. The Titans are popular again in this town.
Yeah.
They should be. They got a lot of good players. But Jurrell Casey's a big part of that because he was one of those guys that everybody he interacted with said, that's a great guy. I can ride and root for that guy on Sundays, no doubt about it.
Got about 3 minutes left. The Tennessee Vols will be kicking off, tonight? 6 o'clock?
7
o'clock our time.
I think that's Central, yeah, 7 o'clock.
7 Central, says
3HL
Lucas
take you right up
Panzica,
to
he
it.
knows. So I wrote this in my notes earlier this week. You cannot let Bowling Green hang around. This is a terrible team. They gave up. Didn't you and Buck today, Lucas, just give a bunch of unbelievably terrible stats about how bad Bowling Green is? One of them is they gave up 310 rushing yards per game. And the Heupel offense, we all tend to see spread offense, pass the ball everywhere. Well, no, he's been very adamant in saying we're a balanced attack. And really, a lot of those guys will call it like Gus Malzahn. I made the mistake of calling his a spreading pass offense once, and Eli Drinkwitz, who's now Missouri, was on the staff, and he goes, it's a running offense with some passing principles. He corrected me in his dry Eli Drinkwitz way. But they want to run the ball. I wouldn't get cute tonight. I mean, I would run my offense because you should be able to out-athlete these cats. In
Your offensive line should be able to push them, no problem.
5 yards down the field. So I would come out, and I wouldn't get cute. I don't want to run any end arounds or anything like that. I just want to blow them off. I would look at those 5 offensive linemen, and I would say, hey, man, you want to start this season off with a bang? Run over your man, and let's run for 350 yards against these guys tonight.
And they lost a lot of running back talent. They lost half of the good guys on their roster to Oklahoma seemingly in the offseason. But I think that you look at Tyon Evans as a guy, a big body, certainly looks the part. You'd love to see him tonight. I think that it's just about simple. Just get the next first down.
Yep.
Every play doesn't have to be the 40-yard touchdown. There'll probably be some of those because Bowling Green just stinks. And then on the other side of the ball, Bowling Green's running back is a guy named Terrion Stewart. He's the only guy on the roster I know about, but he's from Shelby County. He's actually a Tennessean.
He's pretty good.
He's electric.
Yeah.
He's a guy you've got to contain. It'd be great if you start out up 7-0. Don't start out on the other side. Don't throw a pick and let them kick a field goal, and all of a sudden people are turning on the game 20 minutes late, and you're down 3-0. You start wondering what's happening. Look, just enjoy. I hope that the state of Tennessee, I hope Vols fans and I enjoy this game because it's an opportunity to really beat somebody, to feel good about yourself, if only for one game. You got Pittsburgh next. That'll be a tight one. It'll be a fun one. But I hope that the Heupel era gets off to a good start. I mean, I really hope that. And that's the universal sentiment amongst Vols fans, I'm sure.
Yes, a lot of excited people tonight. Probably some a little nervous, but no matter what happens, we got it all in the zone. And guess what? 3HL's coming up next. So Brent and Babs and Ron, they are going to get you game ready right up until it's time to get started with Vols programming. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy the game. Alex will be back tomorrow. We're going to break everything down for you as we get ready to start NFL game week 2. We'll give you the latest on what's going on with the Titans tomorrow. Have a great night. And again, 3HL next on the zone. We'll see you tomorrow, Alex.
Go Vols, bring it home.
Listen to 104.5 The Zone live on Alexa. We're not going to be one of those lame radio stations that puts Alexa's voice in a promo. However, we are going to tell you to say, Alexa, play 104.5 The Zone.